Continuing on then, I am going to add my two numbers together, my two contra accounts to purchases. I should get $1,933.72. I am then going to subtract those, just like it tells me over here, it says less. So I'm going to take my purchases minus those contra accounts, that number that I just figured out. And that number I'm going to put over here. So I should get 201,947.29. This number here, that is going to be my net purchases. So it's a lot like what we did up here for my sales. It's just now I'm doing it for my purchases. Okay, the next thing then that I need to do is I need to figure out my total cost of merchandise available for sale. So I'm going to just go ahead and put that label in here right now. Total cost of, and we can simplify here for merchandise. We'll just type it as MDSE, available for sale. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at, okay, well, we started our inventory with $86,000 worth, and then we had net purchases of $201,000 worth. So our total cost of merchandise that we had available for sale, we're simply going to add those two numbers together. So our total cost of merchandise available for sale should be $288,736.44. Okay, now we need to subtract from it. So I'm going to put less, and it has in there less merchandise inventory. And now again, it has that just like we had before, because this is going to be our ending inventory. So we're going to put that date in there. So December 31st, 20 dash dash. Okay, our ending inventory we're going to get from up above. Okay, we need to look at what our balance is in our adjusted trial balance. So our ending inventory should be $81,017.26. So we're going to again do exactly what it says. We're going to subtract those two numbers. We should get $207,719.18. This here is going to be labeled as our cost of merchandise sold. Okay, the last thing that we need to figure out then on this part is our gross profit. And so our gross profit, we are going to take our net sales and we are going to subtract from it our cost of merchandise sold. So our gross profit should be $293,706.41. Okay, so we're done with that part. We're going to go ahead and grade step 3. Everything looks good. So we'll go to our next step. Step 4 then says that we are going to complete the remainder of Superior Corporation's income statement. Okay, people keep on coming in the room and then I have to pause, sorry. So step 4, we are going to be completing our income statement. It says complete the remainder of Superior Corporation's income statement. The valid values for the text entry cells in the first column can be found in the column 1 selection list tab of question assets. Colons are provided so we don't have to type them. So they're just saying here, they're giving us our labels again. So it's like a word bank for us for column 1. And then our adjusted trial balance. We've already filled in the top part. So we filled in our operating revenue section, our cost of merchandise sold section. We figured out what our gross profit is. So now we have our next section. This section is pretty easy. It's just copying down numbers really. So the first thing is we need to give a label to this next section. This is going to be called our operating expenses. And then you can see that we have all of our expenses listed, and we are simply going to be putting in the balances of those expenses. So big thing here is make sure that you're copying numbers down correctly, because that's where we can get messed up. And if we have messed that up, we'll get totals wrong and then income wrong and everything else. So copy carefully. Advertising expense, that is $3,744. Credit card fee expense, $5,473.76. Depreciation expense office equipment, $7,485. Depreciation expense store equipment, $9,830. Insurance expense, $6,000 even. Miscellaneous expense, $2,796.03. Payroll taxes expense, $14,375.91. Rent expense, $6,720. Salary expense, $131,978.76. Salary expense office, $2,860.89. Supplies expense store, $3,523.33. Uncollectible accounts expense, $2,384.10. And last expense, our utilities expense, $3,972.34. So those are all of our expenses together. Next thing that we have to do is we have to add them all up. Be careful when we are adding. Make sure that you are typing into your calculator correctly. I'm giving you time to add, so take the time to add. Okay, we should get 201, 144.12. Okay, this is going to be labeled as our total operating expenses. Okay, next part then is we're going to figure out what our income from operations is. So our income from operations, we're going to take our gross profit from up here, and we're going to subtract from it our total operating expenses. Our income from operations should be $92,562.29. Okay, then we have to include, if we look at this, it gives us a hint. It says that we have interest income here. So remember, that's revenue, but it's not revenue from operating the business. So this we're just going to call other revenue. Interest income we're going to get from our adjusted trial balance, $466.20. So now that we have our income from our operations and then our other income that we have, we're going to label this as net income before we paid federal income tax. So net income before federal tax. We're going to add those two numbers together. Should get $93,028.49. And now we need to subtract, so this is a less, we need to subtract that, or from that, our federal income tax expense. So when we look up there, our federal income tax expense is $19,879.69. When we subtract those two numbers, that is going to give us our net income after federal income tax. So we'll subtract those two. And we should get 73,148.8. Grade step 4. Looks good. Next step. Okay, the last step then is we are figuring out our vertical analysis. So it says prepare a vertical analysis of each amount in the fourth column, round calculations to the nearest 0.1. Make sure that you use this heading. This really helps. It says percentage of net sales. Remember, of net sales, that means net sales is always at the bottom. So for this first one, we're simply dividing net sales by net sales. So when we do that, we're going to get 100.0%. Since I'm running a little short on time, I'm going to have you guys fill in those next ones. So this one, you're going to take the amount divided by 100%, divided by 100%, and then fill those in. Remember, 0.1%. Okay, so here are the rest of them. Remember, all of these numbers you're going to take and you're going to divide it by this number here, your net sales. So cost of merchandise sold divided by net sales, we get 41.4. It's really important that you put that 0.1%. Okay, gross profit is 58.6%. Then we scroll down more, we have our total operating expenses. Those are 40.1%. Income from operations, 18.5. Interest income, 0.1. 18.6, 4.0. Make sure you put that 0 in there because you have to have it to the 0.1%. Okay, you can now go ahead and go on and do 16.1 on your own. Make sure that you guys are working hard and being good for the sub.